The medieval world. We have studied about the ancient history and the modern history. The time periods in history is mostly divided into three: the ancient, the medieval, and the modern history. In this chapter, we are going to study detail about the medieval history. The total time period of the medieval history is from 8th to 18th century. The period that lies between the ancient and the modern periods of history is known as the middle or medieval period. The medieval period is divided into two: the early medieval period and the late medieval period. The early medieval period is from 8th to 13th century and the late medieval period is from 13th to 18th century. Many rulers ruled our country in these time periods. And they are the Palas, the Pratiharas, the Rashtrakutas, Cholas, and the Rajputs were the rulers of the early medieval period. The Turks, the Afghan, and the Mughals were the rulers during the late medieval period. Our country is commonly referred to as Bharat, India, or Hindustan. It is, however, interesting to note that India was known by different names at different points in history. Bharatvarsha and Jambudvipa are two of the earliest names by which our country was known in ancient times. India was also known as the land of the people who lived along the river Sindhu. The Sanskrit word Sindhu was pronounced Hindu in Old Persian and Hindu in French became Inde, pronounced Ande. This word came into English as India. The way we understand Hindustan today is quite different from what it was understood in the medieval times. For example, according to some medieval scholars, Hindustan comprised territories that were a part of the Delhi Sultanate. On the other hand, Babur, the founder of the Mughal Empire, used the term Hindustan to describe the geography and the natural vegetation of the subcontinent. It was only in the 19th century, during the British Raj, that Hindustan came to be used synonymously with India. Major historical developments. The medieval period in India is characterized by some important developments. The coming of Muslims led to the growth of a mixed culture. There was an interaction between North and South India and between the Hindus and the Muslims. The cultural exchanges led to the growth of a culture that was above regional and caste differences. It was an Indian culture. The Muslim dynasties, particularly the Mughals, provided many centuries of political stability to the country. This led to an increase in trade and the rapid growth of towns and cities. Trade led to a greater interaction between people from different parts of the world. India borrowed many things from the cultures of other countries. During the medieval period, Islam spread in India. The Bhakti and the Sufi movements spread the message of devotion to God and kindness towards all human beings. Sources of the medieval period. The sources of the medieval period were divided into archaeological sources and literary sources. The archaeological sources contains the monuments, paintings, coins, inscriptions, etc. Literary sources contains the chronicles, autobiographies, biographies, travelogues, etc. Coins are valuable archaeological sources. Drarya Pariksha is a book on coins. Now we are going to study the different types of literary sources, and they are the chronicles, autobiographies, biographies, travelogues, farmen, and correspondence of kings. Chronicles. A chronicle is a record of the rule of the kings and the life at the court. Most kings had court chroniclers who wrote in detail about what happened during their reign. Most of these writings are in Persian and Turkish. Some important chronicles of the medieval period are as follows. Rajatarangini by Kalhana is a history of the kings of Kashmir. Tarikhi Firoz Shahi by Ziauddin Barni, which describes the history of the sultans of Delhi till the reign of the Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Tarikhi Ferista by Ferista, which is a record of the history of the Delhi sultans from the time of the Turks till the 17th century. Khazainul Futah and Tughlaq Nama by Amir Khusru deal with the reign of the Khaljis and the Tughlaqs. This is one of the chronicle Rajatarangini by Kalhana, which tells us about the history of the kings of Kashmir. Autobiographies. An account of a person's life written by that particular person is known as autobiographies. Among the autobiographies, the most important are Futuhati Firoz Shahi by Firoz Shah Tughlaq, Babur Nama by Babur, and Tusuki Jahangiri by Emperor Jahangir. This is the image of one of the autobiography by Babur, which is known as Babur Nama. Travelogues. Many foreign travelers visited India during the medieval period. Their travelogues give us a lot of information about the places they visited and the people they met. Some of the well-known visitors who wrote travelogues are Al-Baruni, who came from Central Asia, Ibn Battuta, who wrote the Rihala, which means travels, which gives us a lot of information about the geography of India. Abdul Razak, who was sent by the ruler of Persia to the kingdom of Vijayanagar. Travelers also came from Europe. Marco Polo, Niccolo Conti, and Niccolo Manucci came from Italy. Duarte Barbosa and Domingo Paes from Portugal. Ralph Fitch, William Hawkins, and Sir Thomas Raw from England, and Bernier and Tavernier from France. Their writings and letters are a very valuable source for reconstructing the history of medieval period. These are the images of the travelogue written by Marco Polo in the medieval times. Thanks for watching.